Ladies and gentlemen, Netas indulging in political bickering is obvious, it's acceptable, it's their job. But do diplomats need to do it? The Indian envoy to Ireland right now is facing the wrath of the Congress party for supporting Prime Minister Modi's regime while responding to an editorial in the Irish Times. The Congress is saying the problem is not in the envoy defending or supporting the Indian government. That has happened before. They say the problem is in him dissing the opposition in India. Now, defending the Prime Minister in his rejoinder to the editorial in a newspaper called the Irish Times, the Indian envoy had praised Prime Minister Modi's government for fighting corruption, but he blamed the 55-year rule by the Congress party for it. He said the Congress is responsible for it. The Congress was quick enough to respond. The party has called his statement biased and prejudiced. Denouncing his remarks, Congress leader Jairam Ramesh said that defending a government is one thing, but to openly attack the opposition in this matter is like being a party pracharak, and it is not expected from an Indian ambassador. The Congress party has also asked the government to sack him.
Also a concern which was being raised by the Congress party, Congress General Secretary Jairam Ramesh, regarding the statement given by Indian envoy to Ireland, in which he has mentioned about Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. He had praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Jairam Ramesh had demanded that he should be sacked, the manner in which he is criticizing the opposition and praising the government.
So it's not just Jairam Ramesh ji who's asking for his sacking. I ask in no unequivocal terms that that man should be sacked. He has no right whatsoever and no maturity whatsoever to be a diplomat representing our country. Mr. Mishra is posted there, and he's being funded by the taxpayers' money. He's being funded by the money that you and I pay through GST on essential items that poor people of this country pay. What business does he have to release partisan statements? What business does he have to criticize previous governments? What business does he have to become a cheerleader? You want to join the BJP? Come back to India and join the BJP. Stop doing what you're doing in the garb of a diplomat, because this brings a lot of shame to my nation, something that we will not tolerate.
Now, remember where this started. This started with an editorial in the Irish Times, and it was called Modi Tightens His Grip. The article essentially predicted a comfortable third-term win for Narendra Modi. But it also highlighted the situation that the opposition in India finds itself in. It mentioned the arrest of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. It also talked about the freeze fund that the main opposition party in India, the Congress party, is facing because of IT action. So that's essentially the background of the case. Karan Verma is an author. He's joining us on the broadcast. Sanjay Jha continues to be with us. Suresh Goel is a former ambassador. He's with us as well. And Major General Dhruv Katoj, he's a director at the India Foundation. He's with us. I'm going to first, for obvious reasons, going to Suresh Goel. Mr. Goel, as a former ambassador, do you think a red line was crossed here?
Let me not go into this particular case right away, but I have been a diplomat, or I was a diplomat. I'm now retired. I was a diplomat for more than 40 years. And when we were trained as diplomats, we learned a few things about India's foreign policy, which we had to defend. We were told that we had to defend Indian policy, the government of India. Mind you, it is the government of India we had to defend the policies, not a particular person, not any party. But we had to defend the government of India, the policy that we were actually pursuing in the interest of the people of India, the foreign policy. And I still remember the one word from Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was also the Prime Minister of India, who passed away only recently, that Videsh Niti is consensus. Videsh Niti, the foreign policy, is the national consensus. And that is what we are defending. And therefore, when as diplomats, we defend any particular thing, first of all, we defend only the positions where the government has been called into question, where the policies of the government have been called into question, whether economic policies, foreign policies, anything. But when we call them into question, sorry, yes. You want to say something? Shreya?
No, Mr. Goel, I asked you, Mr. Goel, yes, sir. I did ask you a simple question about whether the ambassador crossed a line. And what you are telling me is that he did violate the rules of service. Are you expected to defend India? Yes, you are expected to defend India. Are you expected to defend the government's policies? Yes, you are supposed to defend the government's policies. Are you maybe supposed to defend the government of India? Yes, maybe you are even supposed to defend the government of India. It's happened in the past. But are you supposed to diss the opposition and speak like a political worker? That is the question I was asking. And to my mind, from what you have said, it seems like he has crossed a red
Let
line
me,
here.
if
Major
I
General
can
Dhruv
complete,
Katoch, would you want to come
if I
in
can
here?
complete,
Give me...
Shreya, may I complete what I was saying? Just one sentence.
Okay, Mr.
And
Goel.
what I was,
Oh, I'll give
what,
you... Okay, I'll give you
just
12
give me
seconds to
one
complete.
sentence,
Go ahead, please.
please. What I'm saying here is that we do not go into party politics or electoral politics at all. And therefore, when a position was taken on a party politics or electoral politics, that was crossing the line. Thank you.
Okay. So you're saying that was crossing the line. Major General Dhruv Katoch, I want your views on the matter, and I am going to read out some lines because of which this entire controversy has been brewing for the last 48 hours now. Speaking about the Prime Minister, Akhilesh Mishra says, as he does not belong to any elite political family, his personal life inspires millions of ordinary people in India and other developing countries. ठीक है, he says that. But then he starts referring to previous governments, which essentially amounted to observations about the current opposition in India. And he says, and I'm quoting him now, the fight against the deeply entrenched ecosystem of corruption, in brackets, created by the 55-year rule, including first 30 years by a single dynastic party in India. He doesn't name the Congress, but he's talking about the Congress. A major factor, he says, behind Mr. Modi's ever-growing popularity. Major General Katoch, obviously we cannot be non-political in our personal rights, right? We all go and vote for people. We either vote for the BJP or the Congress. So no one is expecting you to be non-political. But as an ambassador, was this required? Is the Congress right in asking for his ouster, his sacking?
No, you see, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Let me give you my views. I think every statement given by the ambassador or by any of our diplomats abroad, there is a context to it. Now, in this particular case, for a very long time, the Western press has been bashing at India deliberately. And the phrases which they are using is democracy is in danger. Now, you know, those people are continuously telling us democracy is in danger. Just about a few weeks back, there was I had met certain people, very senior people from abroad, and in a meeting they told me that when we were talking about the Ukraine war, they said India is on the wrong side of history. Now I told them, you don't have to teach us history; we are on the right side. But this has been a common refrain now on this democracy bit. And ultimately, I've come to the understanding that the Western concept of democracy is, if you agree with us, you are democratic. Otherwise, you are tyrants. If you agree with us, you can go and slaughter your people the way Pakistan is doing. You are democratic. But if you do not toe the Western line the way India is refusing to toe the line, then they are going to start, they're going to start their own ecosystem hitting against you. Now, unfortunately, Indian political parties are also involved in that. They're hand in glove with such elements. And I feel very sorry that when a leader of a political party goes abroad and starts criticizing India's democracy, in a sense, he's criticizing our the entirety of India's people. We have elected a government. And now we have a person to say that, okay, these are tyrants. No. Why are they saying there are tyrants? Because they cannot win the election.
Major General Katoch, can I interrupt you here? Are you accusing the Congress party, since the person who goes abroad is Rahul Gandhi, are you accusing the Congress party of actually sponsoring this editorial in the Irish Times?
No, I won't say. I don't think that the Congress would have sponsored this editorial. I'm saying that the mindset which has been created, there is a linkage between such editorials which are coming across various countries and what the opposition in India is stating. Now, I'm against that. You see, they've got no.
Okay.
You have a political battle. Please fight it out in India, and there is enough space. But then you say no, there is no democracy here. Who's stopping your democracy? Everybody has got a right to speak, and they're speaking
Mr.
it
Jha,
out.
what do you?
The amount of venom which is being spewed now.
But does the ambassador? But Major General Katosh, does the ambassador, does the envoy to Ireland, a man who's representing India and India's democracy, have a right to criticize the opposition in this country? If you need to defend the country, of course you should defend the country.
No,
You need to defend the Prime Minister, of course defend the Prime Minister. He is our Prime Minister. But was there a need for that below the belt comment for the Congress party? That's not what I'm asking you. But anyhow, I'll just let Sanjay Jha come in and respond to you.
Yeah. Shreya, I have 2 points to make. Number one, under Mr. Modi in the last 10 years, we have seen how institutions have been infiltrated with the RSS mindset. And, you know, you'll find it. You've got evidence of people in the military and defense. You have people in all the institutions, ED, CBI, income tax. You have the Election Commission under the control of the government. And there is a forced attempt to tell everybody to fall in line. Bureaucracy has definitely been influenced humongously by this government. You can see how the MEA officials spoke and made themselves look really, in my opinion, rather unprofessional when they commented on the raids on BBC. So here is the bottom line. This is a thin-skinned government. They have destroyed all the institutions of governance in this country. They have made the bureaucracy into, literally like silent lambs. And the worst thing, in my opinion, is the way they have influenced the military and the defense services as well. You have actually had a former general who's campaigned and won an election on a BJP ticket. You have seen recently a High Court judge who actually left the Kolkata position he was holding. And then he said, I'm in 2 minds whether I would support Mahatma Gandhi or Nathuram Godse. So, end of day, there is this whole, as you heard one of the earlier panelists talking about this big hyper nationalism. We are the only people who are patriots. We are the only people who create concern about territorial integrity. We are the true sons of India. I mean, this is so much of balderdash. Nobody in this country needs a certificate from the BJP or their cheerleaders. I completely stand with what the former ambassador, Mr. Goel, said. I think there is a certain protocol and a discipline. You're free to support the government. You can't afford to become like a cheerleader or a spokesperson for a political party. There's a big difference between the two. And I think they're shaming India. Because, let me tell you, Shreya, I'm glad you're holding this program. But the world is watching, and there are people who will come on your show and do the chest thumping and will wait for a social media trolls to, pile on to the other people. But hang on, you are actually making a mockery of Indian democracy. And I don't think you can escape it by trying to sound more patriotic because you're actually a pseudo-nationalist, truth be said.
Karan Verma, come in here. Again, the question, and the question is simple, and I don't want to complicate this. The question is simple. This is a career diplomat that we are talking about, Akhilesh Mishra. He's been in the foreign services for the last 30 years. Was this a red line that is crossed? Again, I'm saying, in the last 8 years, there is an ideological divide in this country. 100% in families, in WhatsApp groups, amongst friends, etc., etc. And everyone is free to hold their opinions. Everyone is free to support the opposition. Everyone is free to support the BJP, the DMK, the Congress, the TMC, whoever they want to. And in India, if you're a voter, obviously, if you're going out and voting, you have a political opinion. But can a diplomat afford to let his political leanings be out so obviously, where he just doesn't stop at praising the Prime Minister, which again is just fine, but goes on to diss the main opposition party in this country?
Okay. So, Shreya, just one line in which he's talked about what he's talked about is an entrenched ecosystem of corruption. Except for that one line, he's largely defended the government of India. This was a nasty article put out by the Irish Times. I mean, look at the stuff they've put out. an intolerant Hindu first majoritarianism is the order of the day. It's meddled in our affairs, and it's talked about how Arvind Kejriwal is innocent, how the Congress party is being choked of funds in the elections, how ED, CBI and democratic institutions are all under the grip of Mr. Modi. So the diplomat had to reply and tell him
Karan,
that,
don't misquote
here
the
is a
article.
man.
Karan,
let me come
don't
to it.
misquote the article.
Let
It may
me
be ill-informed,
complete, please.
but
Give me
the
30 seconds.
fact is that the Congress party is has been their funds have been frozen and Arvind Kejriwal is in jail. है ना? तो factually गलत नहीं है. हाँ, I mean there is a clear slant to the article. I will agree with that.
I mean, so that's what I'm saying. So our courts are of the opinion that Arvind Kejriwal is prima facie responsible for the proceeds of crime, for the commission of the offense and for concealment of it. So this is what our courts, you can't term India as a banana republic where courts also have no value. They haven't got relief from courts. That's the complete context to it. And Congress party failed to comply. If you fail to comply, that is what Mr. Akhilesh Mishra's article is all about. That for 55 years, there was an entrenched system of corruption, and that's not said by Mr. Modi. That's said by the late Rajiv Gandhi, who said, मैं 1 रुपए भेजता हूं तो 15 पैसे पहुंचते हैं. That is said by, admittedly, by Congress. Now, when someone like Mr. Modi is cracking down on it, there are voices which are adverse voices. Exactly this is the sentiment that Akhilesh Mishra has tried to convey in this article. Yes, that one statement could have been carefully worded. But by and large, this is about where India is today. Today, for the first time, we are seeing action on the ground, where corruption cases are being booked. Action is being taken even if you are the chief minister. So what's wrong in that? I mean, I don't see that as a murder of democracy. In fact, when Rahul Gandhi goes abroad and says our democratic institutions are collapsing, I see that as an affront to our democratic principles. I see that as an affront to the repute of our great country.
Sanjay Jha, last word to you. Essentially, the argument that Karan Verma is making has some merit to it. He's saying that if the Irish Times editorial, and just by the way, this is an editorial, if the Irish Times editorial is speaking about the opposition being under attack in India, Mr. Kejriwal being in jail, the Congress being, starved of election funds, etc., then obviously the ambassador had to respond on those points. And this is how he decided he needs to respond.
In my opinion, this is very asinine. I needed to use a strong word. It's rather preposterous and absurd. I mean, there will be editorials written all over the world on the electoral bond scam. It's a mother of all scams. This government has looked like an underworld mafia operation. Yes, it has behaved like a banana republic. We say so every day on your show. All the opposition parties are calling Mr. Modi's government the most corrupt since 1947. Is New York Times not supposed to cover it? Unfortunately for Mr. Modi and his government and his cheerleaders, other countries are free and they have their own fundamental rights. They have their own freedom to call Mr. Modi's government what they want to. So Mr. Modi's government can abuse the ambassadors and the foreign diplomats by forcing them to become cheerleaders of the government. You only embarrass yourself further, because if you're a true blue democracy and you don't have a guilty conscience, well, you know what? You actually got to take the bad news in a good spirit and see what you need to do to change your image. So that's the bottom line. This government is authoritarian. This government is thin-skinned. And we all know how they hound anybody in this country who's critical or who challenges them. The foreign media is free. They're under no pressure for government advertisement. Their editors don't owe their jobs to owners who own them based out of India. So unfortunately for Mr. Modi, he has got to learn to live with it.
We leave it there for the moment. Karan Verma, thank you very much. Sanjay Jha, good to have you on the show. Mr. Goel, thank you very much. And Major General Dhruv Katoch, thank you very much. I'm afraid, Mr. Goel, I'm out of time. Guys, out of time. I'm so sorry for this. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a lovely visual to play for our viewers. I just don't want to leave them with a controversy, at least not today, since it's Ram Navami. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Ram